Forget everything you've learned about building goodwill. Today, we're not talking about tactics. We're decoding the hidden physics of power in a negotiation. We're going to dive into why your most reasonable, well-intentioned concessions are very often your most costly mistakes. Let's get started.
So, let's start with a fundamental law, one that's almost always ignored. Every time you give something up, you are teaching. You see, we think we're building a relationship. We think we're being reasonable. But what's actually happening is you're training the other side. You're teaching them how to value you, what to expect from you, and maybe most importantly, exactly how hard they need to push to make you fold.
So let's begin with the core signal. We're all taught that generosity, being flexible, is the way to get a good deal done. But what if that very generosity is broadcasting a signal you never intended to send, a signal of weakness?
Look, this isn't about you having bad intentions. Of course you want to build rapport. The problem isn't the signal you're sending, it's the one they're receiving. In any high-stakes game, what you see as an act of goodwill, they see as proof that you have a surplus, that you have more to give. And just like that, your value, the value of what you're offering, gets recalibrated, always downwards.
Now, this misread signal isn't some one-off thing. It actually kicks off a predictable chain reaction, a pattern that plays out in almost every negotiation you'll ever be in. So let's break down the 3 silent signals that systematically drain your power. It happens in a sequence. It's a domino effect. First, the perceived value of what you have goes down. Second, their anchor point moves. The whole baseline of the negotiation shifts. And third, and this is the most dangerous one, you train them on exactly how to negotiate with you from now on. Just think about it for a second. Let's say you ask a vendor for a 10% discount, and they say, yes, immediately. No hesitation, no fight. What is your very first thought? Is it, wow, that was really nice of them? No, it's, damn, I should have asked for 20, right? Anything you give away easily is instantly assumed to be worth less. You've just told them you have plenty more where that came from.
And that leads right to the next domino, expectation drift. As soon as you make that easy concession, the original price, it's gone, it's forgotten, it's irrelevant. The new lower number is now the real starting point. It's the new anchor. Every single yes you give redraws the entire map of the negotiation, and it's always in their favor.
And this brings us to the third most critical signal. Negotiation is nothing more than behavioral conditioning. If you give in quickly, you teach them that pressure works. You are literally training them to push you harder. On the flip side, when you show that concessions are expensive and difficult to get, you establish respect. You set the boundaries for the entire relationship, not just this one deal.
Okay, so let's look at the game itself. It's one thing to understand these signals exist, but seeing the massive gap they create between what you intend and how you're perceived, well, that's where you find the real power dynamics at play.
Just look at this breakdown. On the left is what you think you're doing. You're building goodwill. But what they see is a signal of surplus. You think you're just being reasonable. They see proof that your opening offer was way too high to begin with. You're trying to move the deal forward. What they hear is an open invitation to apply even more pressure. This gap right here, this is where deals go to die.
And the cost of not seeing this gap, of not understanding the game that's being played beneath the surface, it's huge. It creates what we call the concession cascade, where one small concession inevitably leads to another and another and another.
And I want to be really clear here. This has nothing to do with you being a bad negotiator. It has everything to do with not perceiving the underlying mechanics of the game. When you don't see how your own concessions are shifting the entire field of play, you just become vulnerable. You get squeezed, you end up accepting terms you know you shouldn't, all because you've been conditioned to give ground.
And this is not an abstract concept. That psychological expectation drift we talked about, it has a very real price tag. One quick, seemingly harmless concession on terms early in a deal can reset the entire valuation baseline. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars of value surrendered on a single deal, all because the starting point was moved without a fight.
So how do the best negotiators on the planet avoid this trap? Well, it's not because they have better tactics or scripts. It's because they operate from a totally different mindset. They operate from a mindset of scarcity.
This quote says it all. This is the fundamental divide. Amateurs give things away for free, hoping to get some fuzzy feeling of goodwill in return. Professionals understand that a concession is currency. It's valuable, and it should only ever be traded for something of equal or greater value. You trade a price reduction for better payment terms. You trade a feature for a longer contract. It is never a gift.
So let's get inside their heads. They know that what's rare is valuable, so they don't give things away easily.
They understand that holding firm, even when it's uncomfortable, is what actually builds respect, not caving in. They use time and silence as weapons, letting the pressure build on the other side. And most of all, they are acutely aware that every single move they make is training their opponent for the next one.
Okay, to wrap this up, let's turn this lens back on you. To really see these forces at play in your own world, you just need to start asking yourself 3 very sharp questions.
First question, be honest with yourself. In your current deal, what have you already given away? And I don't just mean money. Think about information, early agreements, access, timelines. What have you already given up, maybe without even thinking about it?
Now, because of what you've given away, that leads to the second question. What do they now expect to get for free? What part of your value, what term, is now just the assumed baseline? What have you trained them to take for granted?
And finally, the most critical question you can ever ask yourself in a negotiation: what behavior are you teaching? Are you teaching them that if they push you, you'll fold, that your first offer is never your real offer? Or are you teaching them that your position is solid, that your value is real, and that in this negotiation, nothing is free?